Celebratory Beheading is the second full-length album from Contaminated, and this is a Melbourne, Australia-based death metal band. One that we could say has its sort of muscle memory and roots in death grind and grindcore in some ways. There's also some death doom and some more of the more rotten, filthy Finnish death metal touch in there too. It's a kind of a band that hit at a certain time in death metal where people still remembered what was good about death metal, the involved rhythms, the brutal pacing of it, and the creative songwriting. And it wasn't so much aesthetics as it was the actual substance of old school death metal. And it was a celebration of it in the early 2010s that it kind of dropped off towards the end of that decade. So this band, their early work is sort of a capsule of that, where you get some incantation-esque stuff there. You get some of their grindcore interests in the early demos, but you also get, I guess, music that was kind of the time when bands like Tomb Mold were showing up as well. So Final Man back in 2017 was an interesting record because it was kind of buttoned up, but kind of sloppy and crazy too. So it was a cool thing at the time. And I don't think that I reviewed it that year. That's kind of when I started the site, and that was kind of not the right time period for that. But I always appreciated that the record had some a dynamic to it that you'd still appreciate today, where there are death doom pieces. There's some autopsy-esque movements and incantation, like I had suggested, but there was kind of a buzzsaw death metal sound to it as well, and it was all about the riffs. And the band has kind of always been about the riffs from the get-go. So let's see what's changed. Let's grab onto a new song and see what's different here. So the kind of thing is that there isn't that much that has totally changed. The production values are a little bit better. This is actually they're quite a bit better. The separation between instruments is much stronger. The bass guitar tone is no longer distorted to hell, so there's some separation between the guitar and the bass tones, and that makes for a much better listen overall in terms of delivering a really strong guitar-based performance. But the drums are still quite forward, and you get some bigger riffs jumping out at you in most of these songs, and the death grind aspect of it is much more strong here. I would say that this album is still all about the riffs, and there is that death grinding one after another feeling of the early 2000s grind uprising there, but still this is a death metal record first and foremost, and you still do get that old school death metal feeling in there, even if they remain focused on simple and simply written songs. There might be a little bit of dissonance here and there. There might be some slightly more technical riff craft underneath the layers, but usually it's a simple count and just one riff after another for most of these pieces, and they're slung together in a way which is still exciting enough. I think comparisons to something like Ascended Dead might suggest that this is more 80s death metal, or maybe more war metallic than it is. This is kind of neither here nor there. It's maybe more grindcore than that. It's maybe more brutal death, and it's the way that it presents itself. But there is a past of sludge and doom and grind here that feed into the ferality of the music that is still interesting, and plenty of riffs overall, if that's all you care about. It's kind of what this album is all about. If I had a couple of complaints, it would be that I think the vocalist has a pretty good range. He's the vocalist from Feculent, and he's not quite the exact same tone as the previous vocalist, but he still pulls it off in a pretty strong way. I think that what was missing here was the album art. It's just not really my thing. It's not really a thing that I would ding them for too heavily, but that was my only real criticism. Was I don't know how long this is going to last in terms of me reaching for the album, because a woman in a bloody wedding dress holding a severed head is not like that's not like my top 10 imagery in any case. So whatever, it doesn't matter. I'd still pick this up to listen to the riffs, and I think that matters. It's a great record. It's not very demanding, but it is pretty heavy. One song after another just kind of hits, and it's a pretty classic result. They've done well to bring back the feeling of their first record, with adding a little bit more of a shock to its energy, more faster songs, more brutality, and again, the production values kind of help us push Contaminated into up to that next level you'd want from a sophomore release so many years later. So pretty good showing overall. I definitely recommend it. It came out on the 9th, last weekend. So you can listen to it now. You can check out my review while you listen to it and see if it's your thing.